Is it at the point now where you're just contacting friends about working on tours, or is there agents that get involved, or how does that go about for you guys?
We've always had a booking agent or like a booking agency,
Mhm.
kind of handle our stuff since, want to say since around 92, 93. We were lucky enough to get on an agency fairly early. Once we started to do pretty well in like the local clubs, we branched out. How it happened, this is a little small story. We hooked up with a band called Skankin Pickle,
Mhm.
which is like a kind of like a pretty underground and like a legendary ska punk band that kind of started a kind of like if you ask me, they kind of started. They're more responsible for, like, to me, a lot of like the Orange County third wave kind of poppier, kind of sillier ska sound in a
Right.
way, sort of campy ska. Um, they were great. They were like an entertaining ska band, kind of like Fishbone, but more out there,
Mhm.
more kids party, more,
Right.
a little bit more wacky. I mean, they had a bass player that rode like on a unicycle and would ride it off the stage
Right.
and play the bass with like a wireless bass, like on a unicycle, man, in the middle of the crowd. That's like crazy. So they were cool, and they had a guy that did like a Hulk Hogan impression, and that was a fun time. But it started with like that stuff, if you ask me. But what was the question again, man? I got so caught up in my own head that,
Well, I was like about booking, and I mean, are you guys? Do you just contact
yeah,
friends at this point, or how does it
uh,
go?
because of that band, I got so caught up in the Skankin Pickle and how like cool they were at that time. Uh, they kind of befriended us, man. We kind of opened up for them, and they hooked us up. And because of Mike Park, who's Mike Park from Asian Man Records
Hmm.
fame, who is like a ska kingpin in his own right.
Right.
He's one of the dudes that has kept it alive this whole time. His band was Skankin Pickle. That was like one of his. I mean that was his baby at the time, I think. And I think up until they stopped was his thing. He hooked us up. He got
Mhm.
us our first booking agency, which ended up being the Tahoe agency, which is Rick Bondi, who ended up booking Blink One. He ended up being Blink 182's guy, who ended up being huge, obviously. So
Right.
he rode the Blink one the Blink to Blink 182 name change wave, and watched them just. He was there when he pretty much retired. I don't know if I should be saying, but he pretty much retired after Less Than Jake and Blink 182 both kind of blew up. He retired, and he was their booking agent.
Right.
And then I should also mention he was also Sublime's booking agent.
Jeez.
So, I mean, what does
Yeah.
that tell you?
Yeah.
Right when all that was blowing up, we were alongside Skanking Pickle. We were like the more like the ska punk kind of backyard party bands.
Right.
And then right then Sublime took off, and he got Less Than Jake, and he got Blink 182. And we actually did some shows with all those bands back then because we were on the same roster. And there you go. It all happened. It became a huge agency kind of overnight.
Right.
And and then that was when the Epitaph thing was starting to happen for us. We were about to get signed from Doctor Strange to Epitaph. And that's when we were able to kind of have a booking agent, I think, for the rest of our career up until now, because it's
Mhm.
just kind of comes with the territory once you're in it, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Unless you, I think, burn a lot of bridges or, kind of mess
Right.
things up, you could continue to work. And thankfully, we've been able to continue to at least stay in it enough to, be a working band and work as
Hmm.
much as we can or are able to.
Hmm.
Once we put out some new music or want to stay in it. We've always liked to stay in it more of a like a legacy band too. I like when my favorite bands play classic songs
Right.
and play the old the old shit. So
Hmm.
I'm all about it. That's why we still do that, and we'll always continue to do that because I've been let down by my favorite bands a little bit. When
Right.
they play a bunch of new material and it's a little bit self-serving.
Right.
And it's like, well, you got success at some point and you're able to stick around because people support you. So think about that and the people that have to go to work and that buy your. I mean, at least in our case, have been buying tickets for 15 to $25 for 30 years. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like I think about that. So
I saw
and I have fun. I have fun playing the old stuff. So
I saw Skankin Pickle play with Five Iron Frenzy
oh yeah, that's about right.
back in the day, and I didn't know who they were at the time. And
Yeah.
what is going on here? Because like you said, I mean, it's a free for all with that band and such a
Yeah.
great band.